Okay, good day everyone, and I'll bore you with the challenges of system and network architecture, architecture. It wasn't in the title anyhow. I'm speaking bad English, so I should be forgiven. So anyhow, it's all about segmentation. So thank you, Ron, for, but yes, I'm a security architect with Great West Life, some titles, things, and actually I'm loving doing everything from coding to architecture. So today our agenda, here we go. I'll be better sooner or later. Yeah, I didn't have enough time for beer. So basically our today's agenda is talk about segmentation, common challenges, and challenges will include physical, logical, and communication challenges, which might one find interesting, so we will talk about it a bit, and lesson learned. So basically this talk is based on experience that I've gone through for I have been going through, that's the right English tense even, for last year and a half. So let's jump into it. So what is segmentation? And segmentation, thank you Captain Obvious, is an act of splitting network system application components into segments. That's all fancy words, but really what it means. Basically, we are just introducing our infrastructure not as a flat word, but of a word with some segments in it. Why we're doing it, and I'll talk about it a little bit more, but why we're doing it. Credit cards, and I don't know, I don't want to put any names around that, but most of the recent attacks were somehow connected to the segmentation. You say, how so? For example, a lot of smart ladies and gentlemen are putting everything on the flat structure or infrastructure or network or whatever you call it. But the point is that when somebody putting a point of sales terminal on the same network where the end users are, it might be not that good of idea. So another thing, in-flight entertainment systems, probably everyone was following, or most of you was following around like, oh, somebody hacked a plane, like, yeah, hacking a plane, good luck. But anyhow, there is no proof, no disproof. Anyhow, an in-flight entertainment system actually should be isolated according to the best security industry's practices. Moreover, that's kind of funny. Does anybody look into the plane system engineering, how all components are sitting there and actually talking? There is no way you can control trust from the TCP/IP protocol, just saying. So anyhow, automation, that's another talk, and that's another topic, and I've made talk about it. So okay, we already talked about POS with the same segments that our user are. Now could you imagine automation, like some big bosses, okay, I want to check my line in real time. I want this very fancy report with the charts, pies, and all these colorful things. And of course, I want to access from my laptop. Okay, we can always do that, but again, are we providing any controls in between the boss's laptops and our, I don't know, chemical producing line? Maybe not, maybe yes, but segmentation might help us there too. Even worse examples. How about our water treatment plant protected by home router? Yeah, probably it's a bad idea, but I've seen that. So, we're going back to our home networks. So how about home networks? We are introducing a lot of technologies that allow us to stream something from something, and you're sitting in your backyard, everything is awesome, you're drinking beer, and your favorite music playing. What holes are we opening by the Spotify actually introduced to our home network? That might be an interesting thing to look into. The point is, yesterday talk, thank you ladies, gentlemen, about robotics. How about put our robot on different segments? How about not allowing them to talk to internet? I don't know, maybe a good idea. So what kind of segmentation we'll be talking about? A network, and I already talked about segments within the network, so it might be a good idea to use the best practices and separate our network segments. For example, by use, web servers should be, I guess, in DMZ, which stands for Demilitarized Zone. Whoa, yeah, I pronounced it, that's good. And there will be a web server segment. DMZ also can contain our proxy services that allow us to go out. So just this little idea about segmentation systems. How about systems? Yeah, it might be a good idea to segment systems as well. By functions, maybe by data classification, even better, by data classification and functions, just giving an idea. And applications. Yesterday, there was a good talk about Rust, and Rust helps us with some things, but how about if we are decoupling application segments and actually trying to secure each component and intercommunication between the component in a certain way in order to increase our security. So segmentation flavors, and I called it traditional for the lack of a better term, but really it's called perimeter protection, and basically when somebody is only concerned about protecting perimeter and putting everything behind the perimeter and consider it to be secure. And zero trust, basically zero trust was introduced by Gartners, and they're saying that, okay, all segments within our network shouldn't talk to each other unless they're explicitly allowed to talk. Okay, good idea, but as for my taste, zero trust might be challenging. I know that Google implementing zero trust in their data centers, but the point is that hybrid, I think it would be the most adoptable approach for everyone. And it's basically unites granularity of zero trust plus simplicity of traditional segmentation. And again, depends on the task that we need to accomplish. Hybrid approach might be a good one. Okay, so we have all these segments, everything is great, but how we make them talk to each other or communicate? We're doing it by control points. And what are control points? And when this term was introduced to a couple of clients, that was like, what it is. So basically control points, it's some enforcing body that takes different policies and say, okay, basically firewall would be the simplest control point that introduced least privilege access. IPS, intrusion prevention system, will pretty much introduce some active content inspection and some kind of counteraction to it, as well as ADS, but it won't be active, it will be just passive. And other technologies. So basically, right now we know that segmentation is certain sets of zones within network system or application. They're talking to each other, and in the way that they are talking, there is some control point that actually enforce some controls on how they can talk to each other. Okay, so we know how to create our segmentation. What might be challenges associated with it? So common challenges from logical perspective. When one begins how granular one should be. Yes, I love this one. My colleagues hate it, but I try to make it less personal as I can. More granular segmentation allows us to be whoever control freak I am, and this is my Valhalla. There is a big con associated with this. Business from operation and money perspective will be your biggest enemy. I first go with might. No, they will. So, okay, less granular segmentation. Business is happy until something happens, and are we risking our security? And I don't know, like I really, that's my IP table rules. I like them. So allow all to all. So anyhow, and maybe compromise is a good idea. So basically, again, when I'm talking about a compromise, let's use a hybrid one, because business always like to see, let's save some money. Okay, compromise can allow that, but security folks as us, we would like to see more security. So what we're gonna do? Combine two. And some points we really need to segment our data and say, yeah, there is absolutely only whitelist kind of scenario allowed, so application A only can talk to application B on certain set of ports and protocols. Yeah, that's awesome. So what other challenges are there? Physical separation of underlying infrastructure, or when is enough? So right now everybody, like especially operation folks who are not involved in setting up servers and networks, they're like, okay, so my application A talks to application B. I have no idea where it resides. I just need it to work. Okay, cool. From security perspective, how are we thinking about it? Oh, damn, we're sharing application in our DMZ with our very high secure internal zone. Sharing hypervisor is a good idea? I don't think so, especially recently we can escape hypervisor quite a few ways. And yes, it's a big problem. So another example, okay, network attached storage, perfect. We have pretty much unlimited capacity if we stuff it properly and continually grow our cluster of storage. So, but what happens if someone will have control through less secure segment over the storage? Yeah, they potentially will have access to our highly sensitive data. So physical separation might be considered, but again, with physical separation, there is a consideration of big money coming in. So we definitely should be mindful from architecture perspective or security perspective how we will provide that. And all right, we have segments, and now what? Yeah, we introduced our segmentation. Our stakeholders are happy, big bosses are happy, money seems to be right. Okay, but now we are trying to implement it. And basically what we're trying to do is, okay, so, hey, operation folks, right now you need to re-AP your network. What? I hate you. Okay, fine. So this little bit segmentation crossed out, that's how they feel about segmentation, all these adventures. But the main idea is just to be very mindful about how you deliver the segmentation. So yes, it will impact applications. Yeah, there is a potential. Yeah, I admit it. But why we're doing it? The most important from a nowadays or modern security team is say that we're not doing it because we're evil. We're not like saying like, no, don't do that. No, we say, yes, do this, please. We want to see business thriving, but we want to provide security for it. That's the point. So that's pretty much main idea to deliver to operation and system folks in order to implement it. Enterprise-wide whitelisting, that's a very good idea, but really like, who is from operation words here in the audience? Okay, few. So do you know 100% what is your application talking, like what protocols, what ports? Okay, that's great. If you do, then whitelisting would be a great approach. But I've seen systems that are running on mainframes. Applications were developed 20 years ago and nobody have a little idea what it does. Oh, FTP? Yes, we do use FTP. Would it be FTP active? Oh, I don't know. Would it be passive? I don't know. But I need this application to work because it collects reports and I need it right now and business will be crippled if we won't do that. So whitelisting is good when the infrastructure is well documented, but sometimes, unfortunately, we need to go back to blacklisting and say like what is potentially bad and then go from there and convert it into something good. Or that's not necessarily blacklisting is bad, but I don't know. Converting it to whitelist. So, and again, I already mentioned communication in the first part, but yes, how you build the segments. So most of the time, enterprise already quite mature when they ask for like, or they're coming with the idea, oh, we probably need to revisit our segmentation, or wow, we didn't have segments, let's build them. So there is already business that works and it relies on underlying infrastructure. So what are we doing in order to accomplish it? We actually try to be very mindful. And as I said in the very first sentence about the now what, basically if we can somehow stand up our segmentation without changing IP address, operational folks, network folks, everybody will be happy. So it's very important to consider this part. If we can stand up something in parallel, and most of the time it could work. It will still involve some changes, but at least usually when network, for example, is segmented, there are already some consideration around grouping systems together. So right now we need to understand what policy will be applied to these systems and how we want this system to intercommunicate or communicate with other systems. So it's doable, but don't forget to communicate about it because like, okay, wow, cool, organization, get ourselves like a brand new, amazing segmentation architecture. It looks brilliant, it's cheap and dirty, and beautiful. So let's implement it. And then actually executive team forgot to communicate it down to the trenches. Like, yeah, we will be secure, everything is awesome, nobody knows it down in the basement. I'm related to myself, and then it's like, oh, segmentation came up. Where it came up from? What are we doing? What is it? I'm scared and lonely and whatever. So yeah, just try to communicate it properly. It will help a lot. So another logical challenges is yeah, technology implementation and segment boundaries or control points. Yeah, we want it all and we want it now. That's an amazing business approach. How much it costs? Oh, no, then we don't want it. But could you make it less? Yeah, sure. Now we want it all. Okay, perfect. But we also need to understand and consider what the impact of technology is. Okay, let's put like just a little thought experiment. Let's put IPS. Okay, let's put firewall, of course. Everybody loves firewalls. Let's put IPS, sure. Let's do it all on inbound traffic. Let's put web application firewall. Sounds good. Let's put an outbound DLP. What else? What else we can stick? Let's put some unified something security solution on top of it. Okay, cool. So what do we have? At least to my taste, we have 5 inspection points. And now imagine they're not implemented in one device because, of course, we need to be mindful of vendors, no vendors lock in and all that. Perfect. So we have 5 different vendors, 5 different technologies. Every of these technologies actively sits in line, grabs the packet, deciphers it or disassembles it or whatever the word will be, dissects it. I'll prefer more biological terms. So, okay, then looks inside, said, nah, I'm good. Slap it back together, throw on the wire, inspect it. We're safe. So we're talking about 5 technologies. Yeah, every vendor will say, oh, we're operating in wire speed. Okay, cool. So then I shouldn't consider any delays, any latency. No, we're operating in wire speed. Okay, I'm fine. Oh, and by the way, our IPS actually can grab the file that you are downloading, this 20 meg PDF, and send to some analyzer in the cloud that actually will deploy it, detonate it, collects response of all APIs in certain operating systems, analyze it, collect the data, sends it in the report, and then allow you to block or non-block this. What? Wait a second. And it's all in wire speed? I doubt it. So we need to be very mindful how we implement these technologies. And yes, it will impact latency. It will impact performance. And at the end of the day, it will impact business. So that's somebody needs to be mindful of it. And how to make technology working together and optimization. Wrong English, sorry, I'm not, it's not my first language, but anyhow. Do you want some encryption with your mail? Yes, please. So now you imagine all these 5 technologies are inspecting our traffic. Let's add some twist to it. Let's encrypt every single communication on our network. We're secure, encryption. Encryption is cool. Encryption is cool, it's not sarcasm, but it should be applied properly. And now we have, to the latency of technology, we also need our crypto processor working very hard and sweating. So we take the package, we decrypt it, inspect it, encrypt it, put it on the wire. And of course, it's happening how? On the wire speed. No, it doesn't. So pretty much, there is a couple things that we need to be very mindful when we're implementing technologies. So physical challenges, and somebody said physical. Yeah, usually like from architectural perspective, we're designing conceptual phase when we're running around and asking all big bosses why they really want in terms of non-functional requirement. Then we're finally talking to the specialists, security professionals, what their functional requirements. Then eventually we're doing logical architecture, and we're coming down to physical architecture. So what the challenges under the physical architecture? Again, understanding the flows, how it's flowing. Like usually when you are, as an architect, you pull one big block and say like, yeah, that's our zone 1 or segment 1. Another block, segment 2. This communication allow, this not. When you're looking into the physical nightmare, it's like, yeah, there is 27 blocks, 3,000 flows, I'm done. So translating it into the proper flows from logical to physical would be challenging. Control points, and I already stressed a lot and enough, I think, about control points. So we need to be very mindful about placement. And actually, yeah, we are connecting different interfaces. So That might be a very daunting and challenging task just to translate logical into the physical deployment of control points. Staging, another one. Like if you want your project to be successful, we definitely need to stage it properly. And staging will impact physical phase the most, at my taste. Somebody might disagree, and I'll be happy to argue. So we pretty much don't want to cripple down the business. So we need to stage it properly for business to do their thing, and for us as IT folks to have their money to play with our toys. Testing, that's another thing. It's quite an interesting concept, and it's very important. Did we break something? We're introducing controls. We're changing IP addresses. Testing is a big thing there. And we all that need to be done when we're doing business as usual. And of course, if something goes wrong, bosses are unhappy. So the lessons learned out of it. And this is my 3-point. There is way more, and I'm willing to share it afterwards. But there is no one-fit approach, and every case is unique. But there are models that we actually can use. So we look into traditional model. We looked into zero trust, and we also looked at our hybrid model. So something can be scrambled together, and pretty much we can come up with a unique solution for unique needs. It must be balanced between security, operation, and business. And again, like, I'm here representing security control freak that probably dies somewhere in the battle and go to Valhalla. But the point is that we definitely need to start listening to business. There is no such thing like, no, you can't do that. No, nowadays security, you can do that. But let us help you to do that properly, securely. We don't want to be another company that hits the front line of any newspaper and say like, hey, they screwed up. No, that's why we're here. We're doing it to help business to do business, but doing it securely. And from idea to real-life implementation is a long way, so proper planning, training, and communication along the way are the key factors for success. As I said, like, everybody in the company, no matter how big they are, needs to be on the same page. Everybody needs to see why we're doing it. And then you will get support of it. Like, oh, okay, so you're not just trying to make our life harder. There is a hard phase of our life, but at the end of the day, we'll be all big, happy family, and segmentation will be our friend. That's what needs to be pretty much delivered. So thank you very much, and there is 6 minutes for, 5 minutes, 30 seconds for questions, and here is my email address, and this is a link to this presentation. Thank you. Any questions? Question? Yes, please.
Your hybrid approach and what you based on the zero trust and all that, is there open source or published community documentation or guidelines or methodologies?
Okay, the question was what is the hybrid approach and is there any open source documentation? So fortunately we have a lot of approaches to the zoning or segmentation. No, there is no one document. It's basically my hybrid approach. I'm really thankful to colleagues from Securis or whatever it is right now. I'm sorry, I don't want to be disrespectful, but I lost track what it is. So basically, Christian and I, Christian Perron should be here somewhere around. It's basically based on the experience that we get through the exercises from different companies and enterprises to create it. But feel free to send me an email and I might answer your question. And it's in the open source spirit. I'm not taking money for consultancy from open source side. Any other questions? Yes, sure.
Are there any tools, software tools you use to draw out those logical segments that you might present to your customer? Like, is there a tool you work with usually? Here's how it should look.
Okay, so I'm not the biggest Microsoft fan, but Visio usually help. Oh, and question was, is there any tools? There is no automated tools. So most of the tools are based on some kind of visual support, such as Visio or DIG or GID. I'm sorry. But the point is that NIST, National Institute of Standards, have quite a few documents that you can derive your information from, and it will help to plan for whatever needs to be drawn. Is there any, do I have time for, I guess I do. Any other questions?
Any thoughts on the Canadian government's federal segmentation and zoning documents guidance?
Okay, are there any thoughts on Canadian government segmentation thoughts no, my thoughts about their guidance? Actually, I did go over that, and it looks relatively decent. And yes, I want to stay in Canada for whomever watching. Basically, I found a lot of analogies with federal government of United States and again NIST and other standards that are incorporated into Canadian standards. So I can say that they're better, they're worse, they're just common. Any other questions? Okay, thank you very much. Bye.